Hey everybody, Justin Senior here. Welcome to the Scaling Vertically video. This is, without a doubt, the most important video in this section. Scaling vertically, we're going to define it in a second. This is what I do. This is how I get those big numbers, those big days. This is super important to pay attention to, and really you want to master this as quickly as possible. So what is vertical scaling? It is simply increasing your daily budget on an ad set level. So you have an ad set that is working. Let's say you're promoting a t-shirt and you have an ad set that is going to an interest group that you've identified. Remember, we talked about interest groups all the way at the beginning. So your ad set is going to an interest group and it's really working. You're making a few sales a day, and you're 1 or 2, 3, 4 sales, 5 sales now, 6. You're up to 10 sales. You're making a lot of sales, and everything's going good. You're profitable. Well, now is definitely the time to scale that budget. You have something that's working. You have Facebook basically feeding you customers at a profitable level. You want to do that. You just want more of that. So now is when you scale the budget. So first of all, what a lot of people will ask, well, what about duplicating or creating ad sets? And that's what I define as horizontal scaling, and that's definitely important. But that's not what we want to do first. We definitely want to scale vertically first. We want to milk every single dollar we can out of a successful ad set, because it is a challenge to get a successful ad set. And once we have one, we want to make sure that we make it worth our while. So remember what we talked about in the first video about the ROI mindset. We want to get to a high budget ASAP. We don't really care as much about high ROI. We want a high budget, because even with a 50% ROI on a day you spend $3,000, you're making significant money. So you want to get in that ROI mindset when you're scaling, and you want to do what you can to get to a higher budget. So we're going to also talk about when to scale. We're going to talk about how to pace your scale. And then I think we're going to talk about something super important and often kind of passed over in courses like these, the emotional side of things. That's tied in with the mindset. If you can get those things down, you're going to be in good position to succeed with scaling. So let's talk about, again, here's the, we're talking about vertical scaling defined. For almost all cases, we're going to be starting our daily budget at $5. And once you have a product that's selling, once you have something that is actually an ad set that is winning, you're going to want to obviously scale up that budget. Now, scaling also means up and down, so that's important to know. Like, let's say you were having some success, you scaled up, and now you're not having as good a days, you should be scaling down. It's not a one-way street here. And very important thing we're going to cover is scale slowly and consistently. What we can't do is start at $5 and then jump to $50 and then jump to $500. That's going to really affect the health of our ad. There are definitely exceptions to that rule, but for the most part, you're going to want to focus on scaling slowly. So when can you start scaling? Well, that's really it's basically a judgment call in terms of when you want to start. It's kind of a risk tolerance type thing. When do you want to start pushing the budget? To me, I'll often give it a couple days. Even if I get some nice sales numbers on the first day, maybe I'll give it 2 or 3 days, kind of see if I could see any consistency in sales. Though, if I have something that sells 10 on the first day, I'm going to definitely scale it. But let's say I'm just getting a couple sales on day 1, day 2. I'll wait until maybe the 3rd day to really start applying my scaling rules, and we'll talk about that in the last video here. So set some milestones for you. Maybe it's so when should you scale? That's really a kind of personal preference thing, a risk tolerance thing. For me, unless I'm selling something, like 10 items on the first day, I'm probably going to wait until at least 1, 2, or 3 days of data coming in, just to see if I could find some consistency before I start to scale. So set a milestone beforehand of when you're going to start scaling. Maybe it's 5 sales, 10 sales, maybe it's 12 sales over 3 days. Whatever that milestone is, set that up. Maybe you want to be very aggressive and just scale after the first day. That's fine. It's risk tolerance. It's how you want to do it. When you scale, you want to do it every day, once per day, and you want to do it at the same time every day. And the idea is to do it as early as possible, because it affects the ad spend trajectory. So think about let's say you wake up at 8 a.m., right, and you had a $5 budget. Between 12 and 8, Facebook is spending 8 hours worth of that $5 budget. Now when you change the budget, let's say you change it from $5 to $10 at 8 a.m., it now has 16 hours left in the day to spend whatever's remaining from that first $5 plus the additional $5 that you put onto it to raise it to 10. So you don't want to give it too little time to actually spend the money. So the worst thing that you could do is scale from, let's say, 50 to 100 at 11 o'clock at night. What's going to happen between 11 and 12 is Facebook is going to rush to spend your $50. It's not going to spend it as efficiently as it could. So this is why you want to scale as early as possible every day. Now, sometimes you'll have a product or a campaign or whatever that you're promoting. Sometimes it's going to be so hot that you want to scale it multiple times per day, and that's okay. You can do that. Sometimes there are products that definitely deserve to be scaled multiple times per day, so no problem. Do that. You're just going to still follow the same type of rules that we're going to lay out. So pacing. If there is a big misconception that raising budget hurts the ads optimization, that's not true, or it's somewhat true. Depends on how you raise the budget. Just simply raising the budget is not doesn't kill an ad. What kills an ad is when you have no pace at or have no consistent pace, no steady pace when you're raising the budget. So if you go from let's say you start at $5, right? And you can see the examples at the bottom here in green and red. $5 to $10, that's reasonable. 15 to 25, that's reasonable. 50 to 75, that's reasonable. 5 to 50, that's not reasonable. 50 to 500, that's not reasonable. Those types of jumps are going to really kill your ROI. They're going to potentially just kill your ad. So if you were to plot your scaling jumps on a graph, you'd want as smooth of a graph as possible. Slow and steady in this case definitely wins the scaling race. You don't need to get greedy and say, okay, I had a great day at $5. Now I'm going to spend $100. If you expect the same results, you're going to be in for a real bad time. So don't do that. Scale slowly, be very steady. Just make small jumps based on ROI. I'm looking for at least 40% ROI in order to scale. And remember that ROI mindset. We want to get up to a $75 budget as quickly as possible. So don't worry about scaling on small days of profitability. Just look at the ROI again. I'm looking for maybe 40% ROI, and I will scale scale my ad to the next level. So, super important part here, emotions. And what exactly do I mean by emotions? Well, this is another mindset thing. You need to be completely emotionless. You basically need to be robotic when you're scaling. I'll give you examples of why. Let's say you wake up and you sell 10 items on the first day, and it's your $5 budget, and you're so excited. You sold 10 for $5, so maybe if I 100 times my budget, then I'll 100 times my sales, and I'll jump all the way up to 500. And the day ends, and maybe you sell 25 items, so you lose a ton of money, and you're super upset. Or on the flip side, you wake up and you've been doing pretty good, and you scaled consistently all the way up to $100, and then you have a bad day, and you only sell one, and you lose a lot of money, and you freak out, and you say, what, forget it. I'm going to drop my $100 all the way back down to $5. This is I don't want to lose any more money. Well, in both of those cases, you're making the wrong decision, and you're letting emotions kind of take over. So you need to only focus on numbers and data only. You're going to scale up and down. So just because you've been doing good for the whole week and then you have a bad day doesn't mean you should not do anything about it. You should scale down. So numbers and data only, no emotions. That's super important, especially when you're scaling by budget. When we get to these high numbers, you don't want to, make huge jumps and kind of hurt your ads optimization by just crushing the ROI by making, jumps like, from 5 to 50 or 50 to 100. You want to be small and steady. And you want to just be robotic, have no emotions. And that's a big reason why I created the scaling rules, which we're going to talk about in the last video. That's literally, you just need to look at a little chart, and that's going to tell you how to scale, whether it's up or down every day. So, it really takes the emotion out of it. So that's my point on emotions. Again, this video, watch it again and watch it again until you really master the idea of vertical scaling. This will make a lot of sense when you tie it into the scaling rules in the last video. So yeah, that's vertical scaling. Super important. Know it's going to be helpful for you guys. So talk to you soon.